As the morning sun filtered into the kitchen, I brewed my coffee as usual, gazing at the flowers in the garden through the window. I hadn't yet realized how precious this peaceful morning routine was. "Emily, time to get up." I called out towards the second floor. No response. Lately, my daughter Emily had been acting a bit strange. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Emily appeared. "Good morning, honey." "Morning, Mom." Her usual bright smile was missing. My 14-year-old daughter suddenly seemed to have a more mature expression. "Breakfast is ready. Pancakes with blueberries, your favorite." "Sorry, Mom. I'm not eating today." With that, Emily hurriedly headed for the front door. As I heard the door close, I let out a sigh. I wonder what's wrong. My husband Mike came downstairs. "Morning, Sarah. Has Emily left for school already?" "Yes, she just left." Looking at Mike's face, I was a bit surprised. He had bags under his eyes and couldn't hide his fatigue. "Are you all right? You look awfully tired." "Oh, I'm fine. Just a bit busy at work." Mike's words trailed off. He always worked diligently at his job in research and development at a pharmaceutical company. But lately, something was different. I could sense some kind of pressure. Did something happen? At the company? No, nothing. Just business as usual. Mike smiled lightly, but that smile seemed forced. After breakfast and Mike left for work, I started on the housework. While vacuuming, my mind was full of thoughts about Emily and Mike. Suddenly, my eyes fell on a photo frame in the living room. It was a picture of Emily with her best friend Jessica. I remembered that Jessica had been coming over a lot recently. I wonder if Jessica has some troubles too. Something was off with my family, but I couldn't pinpoint the cause. I stopped in front of Emily's room. I pulled back my hand that was about to knock. "It's okay, Shirley. All teenagers go through phases like this," I muttered to myself reassuringly. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something serious was happening. That afternoon, I was cleaning Emily's room as usual. After making the bed, I was picking up things from the floor when the trash can caught my eye. "Oh right, I need to empty this." As I lifted the trash can, a small box rolled out. I picked it up without thinking. "This is..." I caught my breath looking at the box in my hand. It was a pregnancy test. Used ones were inside. Surely not. Emily. My mind went blank. Why would my 14-year-old daughter have something like this? I stood there in disbelief. "I'm home." Emily's voice from the entrance snapped me back to reality. "Welcome home, Emily." I tried to respond in my usual voice. I heard Emily's footsteps coming up to the second floor. The sound of a door opening. "Emily, do you have a minute?" "What is it, Mom?" As I entered Emily's room, she was sitting on the bed. Taking a deep breath, I began to speak. Listen, Emily. Mom was cleaning your room. And I found this. When I showed her the pregnancy test box, the color drained from Emily's face. Can you explain this? Mom, that's... Emily stumbled over her words. Tears welled up in her eyes. It's okay, Emily. Just tell me what happened. I'm on your side. I thought I was speaking gently, but Emily shook her head vigorously. No. Mom, it's not mine. Then whose is it? I can't say. I'm sorry. Emily covered her face with her hands and started crying. Not knowing how to approach her, I just silently rubbed her back. That night, Mike came home. I'm home. Welcome back, Mike. At the dinner table, I thought about telling him what had happened today. But seeing Mike's exhausted face, I swallowed my words. Mike, are you really okay? You seem to be working late a lot lately. Oh, I'm fine. Just started a big project. Mike answered lightly, but his eyes seemed to be hiding something serious. If anything's wrong, please talk to me. Of course, I will. Mike smiled, but it was clear that smile wasn't from the heart. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. My daughter's secret, the change in my husband's behavior. And I was also worried about Emily's friend Jessica. Recently, Jessica had been coming over a lot. They often shut themselves in Emily's room, and sometimes I caught glimpses of eyes that looked like they had been crying. I had a feeling that there was some big problem lurking within my family and around it. That feeling was tightening my chest. Maybe I should talk to Jessica tomorrow. Thinking that, I closed my eyes with an uneasy feeling. 3 days had passed since that day. My relationship with Emily was still awkward, and Mike's behavior hadn't changed. When I woke up to my alarm as usual in the morning, Mike wasn't beside me. Thinking, another early start, huh? I got up. Heading to the kitchen, I noticed there was no sticky note that Mike usually leaves. It bothered me a bit, but I reconsidered, thinking he must have been in a hurry. Emily, time to get up. No answer. Remembering yesterday, I sighed. I knocked on Emily's door. Emily. No response. Nervously, I opened the door, but Emily wasn't there. The bed was made, looking just like last night. That's odd. I hurriedly called Mike's cell phone, but it was turned off. Emily's phone was the same. Panic was welling up. I tried to calm myself with deep breaths, but I could feel my heart rate increasing. A few hours later, I was at the police station. Mrs. Johnson, since when have you been unable to contact them? Last night was the last time. When I woke up this morning, they were both gone. The officer listened to my story seriously, but I could see the questions in his eyes. Were your husband and daughter having any problems? I stumbled over my words at that question. Emily's pregnancy test, the change in Mike's behavior. But I hesitated whether I should talk about it. Not really. I started to say, then stopped. Actually, after I told the officer everything, a missing persons report was filed. When I got home, the silence of the house became unbearable. From that day on, every day was like hell. Waiting for calls from the police, continuously calling acquaintances and relatives. But no one knew where they were. I tried to contact Jessica, but her phone was also unreachable. I visited her house, but no one answered. At night, I would go into Emily's room, hug her pillow that still smelled like her, and cry. "Where are you? Emily, Mike, please be safe." A week passed, but Mike and Emily's whereabouts were still unknown. The police investigation wasn't making progress either. I can't just keep waiting anymore. I decided to start investigating on my own. First, I called Mike's company. "Hello, Pharmatech Pharmaceuticals." "Hello, this is Sarah, Mike Johnson's wife. I'd like to ask about my husband." "I'm sorry. Mr. Johnson has been on leave since last week." I was surprised at those words. Mike hadn't mentioned anything about taking leave. "I see. Thank you." After hanging up, I headed to Mike's home office. It was a place I usually didn't enter, but now I needed clues. Opening the desk drawer, I found a thick file. When I opened it, there were complex chemical formulas and figures lined up. I couldn't understand the content, but one word caught my eye. Side effects. As I investigated further, I found descriptions that suggested the clinical trial data for a new drug had been falsified. The thought crossed my mind that Mike might have discovered some misconduct in the company. The next day, I visited Jessica's house again. This time, luckily, Jessica herself came out. "Jessica, do you know anything about Emily?" She had an anxious expression on her face. I. Please, Jessica. Anything. Even something small." Seeing my desperate state, Jessica seemed to give up and started talking. "Actually, that pregnancy test was mine." Speechless with surprise, I listened as Jessica continued. "I've been suffering terrible abuse at home. I consulted Emily about it. Then Emily said, 'I'll keep it at my house.'" As I listened to Jessica's story, various emotions swirled inside me. Relief, surprise, and new anxiety. "Jessica, can you tell me a bit more about your father?" Jessica hesitated, but eventually opened up. "Actually, he's my stepfather. He has dealings with Pharmatech Pharmaceuticals." At that moment, it felt like all the pieces connected. The misconduct Mike had discovered, Jessica's family problems, and Emily's behavior. "Emily, you were carrying this burden all alone." After returning home, I organized all the information I had. The company misconduct Mike had discovered, the secret of Emily's friend that she was keeping, and the sudden disappearance of both of them. It felt like everything was connected. Surely, something big is happening. I renewed my determination to find my family and to reveal the truth. I decided to do everything I could. When I called the police to relay the new information, a voice replied, "We have a new development." My heart raced. Rushing to the police station after receiving their call, I listened to the detective's report with mixed feelings of expectation and anxiety. However, the content was disappointing. We received new eyewitness information, but it didn't lead to any concrete evidence. "I'm sorry." The detective looked at me sympathetically as I deflated. "Mrs. Johnson, please don't give up. We're doing our best." Nodding at those words, something changed within me. I can't leave this to others anymore. I have to uncover the truth myself. The next day, I visited Pharmatech Pharmaceuticals. I thought there might be some clues about the documents I found on Mike's desk. When I introduced myself at the reception as Mike Johnson's wife, a man from the HR department promptly came to meet me. "Ma'am, we understand your concern. However, the company is also in a difficult position." Feeling something off about those words, I decided to be direct. "Do you know about the side effect data for the new drug that my husband discovered?" The man's expression froze for a moment. That is internal confidential information. Where did you hear about such a thing?" "I found it in my husband's documents." If this is the reason for his disappearance. Suddenly, the man's attitude changed dramatically. "Ma'am, spreading such baseless rumors won't do you any good. I suggest you abandon this line of thinking immediately." Those threatening words filled me with fear. But at the same time, I gained certainty. The truth was here. On my way home, I noticed a car following me. Though trembling with fear, I managed to shake it off somehow. That night, I received a call from Jessica. Her voice was shaking. "Mrs. Johnson, I can't take it anymore. My stepfather, it seems he's doing something bad with Pharmatech Pharmaceuticals." As I listened to Jessica's confession, I felt all the pieces falling into place. Mike's discovery of the misconduct, Jessica's family problems, and the pharmaceutical company's threats. After hanging up, I made a decision. "Mike, Emily, I'll find you both and protect you. And I'll uncover this truth." The next morning, I received a call from an unknown number on my cell phone. "Hello. Is this Mrs. Johnson? I'm a colleague of your husband." A low, tense male voice. My heart raced. "Yes, that's me. Do you have news about Mike?" "Ma'am, your husband is trying to do the right thing. But it's dangerous." At that moment, I realized. The owner of this voice was the whistleblower helping Mike. "What do you mean? Where is Mike?" "I can't say much, but your husband discovered that the side effect data for a new drug was falsified. He's trying to expose it, but the pressure from the company." As I listened, all the mystery started to unravel. The misconduct Mike had discovered, Jessica's stepfather's involvement, and how Emily was trying to protect her friend. But why did they suddenly disappear? They found out about Jessica's home situation. If they exposed everything, Jessica's situation might worsen. I gasped at those words. Mike and Emily had been agonizing between justice and friendship. "Please, tell me where they are. I beg you." After a moment of silence, the person quietly gave me an address. It was an old warehouse in an industrial area. Be careful. You might be being watched too. With those final words, the call ended. I took a deep breath and decided on my next action. I hesitated whether to inform the police, but considering the possibility that the company's influence might extend there, it seemed too risky. I have to go myself. That evening, I was heading to the specified warehouse. In the deserted industrial area, I stopped my car in front of one building, with a mix of anxiety and expectation. With a trembling hand, I turned the doorknob. As my eyes adjusted to the dim interior, I saw two familiar figures. Mike. Emily. The two of them looked surprised as I rushed towards them. Sarah, ow. Mom. The three of us embraced, tears flowing unstoppably. I understand everything now. About the company's misconduct, about Jessica. You both did well. Mike and Emily had complex expressions, but they soon turned into smiles of relief. It's okay now. Let's solve this together. With those words, the long days of anxiety and loneliness came to an end. However, this was also the beginning of a new battle. A battle to reveal the truth to the world and realize justice. The bond of family can overcome any trial. With that conviction, we began preparing to take our next step. In the dim space of the warehouse, our family of three exchanged a long embrace. The tears wouldn't stop. It was a complex emotion, a mix of relief at finally finding each other and anxiety about what was to come. Mike, Emily, I was so worried. My voice was trembling. Mike let out a deep sigh. Sarah, I'm sorry for making you worry. But I thought it would be dangerous if I told you. Mom, I'm sorry. Emily's eyes were glistening with tears. We sat down at a table in the corner of the warehouse and began sharing the whole truth. Mike had discovered that the side effect data for a new drug had been falsified and decided to blow the whistle internally. However, when he learned that Jessica's stepfather was involved, he agonized over the fact that a simple exposure might worsen Jessica's situation. So I was gathering evidence while looking for a safe way to expose it. Mike's expression was serious. Emily confessed that she sympathized with her father's sense of justice and had been acting together with him to protect her best friend Jessica. Mom, I'm really sorry about that pregnancy test. But I wanted to protect Jessica. I squeezed both their hands. I understand. You were both trying to do the right thing. Just then, Mike's phone rang. It was from the whistleblower. Thank goodness you're safe. A voice of relief could be heard. Mike had made a plan to hand over the collected evidence to a trusted journalist. That plan was executed, and a few days later, the pharmaceutical company's misconduct was widely reported. The social reaction was significant, and the pharmaceutical company was subjected to an investigation. Jessica's stepfather was arrested, and she was moved to a safe environment. Jessica, it's okay now. I smiled as I watched Emily calling her friend. That night, we sat together on the living room sofa. I've learned from this experience, I said quietly. that family bonds can overcome any trial, and the importance of having the courage to stand up for justice. Mike and Emily nodded. But from now on, let's overcome everything together, no matter what happens. No more secrets. I promise, Mike said with a serious expression. Me too, Emily nodded firmly. Outside the window, a new morning was about to begin. Like a symbol of our family's new start. Through this experience, we became stronger as a family. And we learned the importance of standing up for justice. There may still be many trials ahead in our lives, but I'm sure we can overcome them together. With that certainty, I looked at my family.